Devils Wednesday. This is the State of the Fan Address presented by pucksandpitchforks.com. I'm your host, Sam Wu, here with the editor-in-chief, Nick Villano, streaming live on Facebook Live, YouTube Live, X Live, and Twitch on the Let's Go Devils Network. The title of this podcast, Fitzy Gone Fishing, could mean a lot of things. A lot of things. Got a lot of hockey opinions on pucksandpitchforks.com. Some saying that the Devils will not make the playoffs. Yet the Metropolitan Division is a little weak. A little bit weak than previous years. We'll talk all about that. Everyone's filing in right now. Nick,
take your seats, people. We got a good show coming up.
Yeah, we're warming up right now. It's the off season.
I know there's not a lot going on, but there's a lot to talk about. Because here's the thing, Sam, is if this is it's July 23rd. I preached patience on July 5th. Now I think you're not going to see a move until training camp. I think the GMs go on vacation in August. And, you know, the NHL Network put out their preview of what they think the Devils lineup is going to be. And you have, once again, first line Andre Palat. I'll say it again. First line Andre Palat.
Dun, 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 dun.
So a lot of people thought that the Devils would have a much easier time trading him. I was trying to clarify this, but I believe that he has a no trade list that blocks 21 teams. So he can only really be traded to 10 teams without his knowledge. He doesn't want to be traded. Even if he doesn't want, if the Devils don't want to be here, he's negotiated that right. And here's the thing. One of the biggest mistakes of the Tom Fitzgerald tenure is he just gave these no-move clauses out like candy. Like, why are you giving a no-move clause to Brendan and Dylan? Like, no offense to the guy, but he's a $4 million player. Like, that's not the type of player that's supposed to get a no-move clause. So, he, and now it's even with it went from a full no-move clause down to a 10-team no-trade clause. And he still can't move these guys, and Dawson Mercer hasn't been moved either. Dougie Hamilton has been moved, which I don't think he will be at this point. And Luke Hughes isn't signed yet. So it's been a frustrating offseason. I will say this, Sam. Often when there's a frustrating offseason, sometimes you get a really good season out of the Devils. You remember like that 2022 offseason? We weren't loving it, right? It was kind of I'm trying to remember who exactly they got. Well, I remember people were mad because they kept Lindy Ruff. That was the big one, right? That they didn't move Lindy Ruff. I'm trying to remember who they signed in the 2022 offseason. Do you remember? What was the big move of the 2022 offseason?
Names are escaping me. I hate when you put me on the spot.
Sorry. No, because I'm thinking about it. Like the 2022.
I'm thinking the 2017-18 season. I remember when you signed Gibbons. All these what was the other guy? Brian Boyle. All that. Yeah. I kind of like that season because it was, you knew you were going to get Nico Hischier first overall in the lineup as a rookie, but you ended up getting Jesper Bratt
in the lineup.
Yeah.
Was that the year that the big one was they got Will Butcher? Butcher was coming off the national championship with Denver.
Yep.
He was I think he was a Hobie Baker winner. It's like basically the college MVP. That was the big signing that offseason. But again, you didn't think he was going to be what he was. He was really good that year, Butcher. And then you got Jesper Bratt in the lineup for the first time, obviously. Gibbons was good for a hot minute, and then kind of fell off towards the end of the year. Yeah, I mean, the 2023 season, I mean, the thing that stood out about 2023 is they had a pretty disgusting right side. John Marino, I think, was one of the big gets that year. They got John Marino in there, whose jersey is right behind your head. So your right side was John Marino, Dougie Hamilton, and Damon Severson. Had to be probably the best right side in hockey. Maybe Colorado is up there, but it was definitely one of the best right sides in hockey. You had Ryan Graves on the left side. You had, I think Siegenthaler was on the left side. That was the first year he was really good. I forget who the third guy is, but you ended up putting Luke Hughes in the lineup, later in the season, at the very end of the season. So that team, again, the offseason, you're kind of like, well, you didn't fire Ruff. You're, the moves you made are kind of minimal. And I'm trying to remember who was on Jack Hughes' wing for most of that year.
Was it Holla?
So I think that it was Holla. Was that the year they did Holla for Zaka?
Yeah. Yep. That was that year, and Holla had a terrible first half. He just couldn't bury the puck in the net. Devils fans wanted his head. But I stuck with them, and I doubled and tripled down during the season.
Yeah.
But
and listen, like Holla, the problem with Holla is he kept getting hurt and tried to play through it. And while it's commendable in hockey, that's just like it just hurts the team. You're taking down your entire line if you lost a step. But when I look at this offseason, I like the Connor Brown signing. I like the Donov signing. I like adding Gritzik into this lineup. I actually like Lamico. I think he's an interesting player. And if he's a 13th forward, he's 13th forward. It's fine. I like that you brought back Allen. You brought back the tandem. So you got a lot of protection in net. I like that you're keeping Hamilton for one more year. I thought, like, if you got a really good trade, like if somebody offered you something good, I'd say go for it because that injury does still scare me. But it might be easier to trade him in season, or maybe it's easier to trade him next offseason. A lot of people are talking about the Simone Nemec situation. There was another reporter from Slovakia, I think he's from Slovakia, who came out with some stuff. I wouldn't pay no mind to it. The timing is strange. There's a lot of excuses for it, and not a lot of them point to Nemec. I think Nemec is going to get, like, I think, I don't have this confirmed knowledge, but I would tell you I would be surprised if I saw Kovacevic in 2025. I'm looking at, like, the new year when he comes back. Again, I don't have this, like, confirmed. I'm just kind of, like, doing my own timetable and just listening. Like, the Devils wouldn't say he's not going to be ready for the season if he's only going to be out for, like, 3 weeks. Because we've seen these guys, work their way to be ready for the season when it's that close. If they're saying he's not going to be ready for the season, like, we're talking about a couple months, I think. So I think that Nemec is going to be in the lineup either way for at least 3 months. Unless something crazy happens, like Seamus Casey, like, completely outplays him. I just don't see that happening. I think Seamus Casey has a long way to go. But I think Nemec doesn't. I think Nemec is an NHL player, and, you never know what's going to happen between now and January. Like, there could be another injury. They could find the Dougie Hamilton trade suitor, so, when Kovacevic is about to be ready to come back. You might have an injury on the left side, and Brett Pesce is well-to-do to play on the left side. There's not a ton. When Kovacevic is out, there's not a ton of defensive depth. You obviously re-signed Cholowski, but he was kind of mediocre the whole time, if not worse. We mentioned Casey of Casey, but I can't think of another depth guy they have on defense. Can you?
Oh, we went through the entire roster.
Yeah, I don't think that there's anybody else that you could, like, I'm thinking of like a guy like Hataka would be good to have right now, but they didn't offer sheet him, or they didn't give him a qualifying offer. Now he's going overseas. Let me look at Puckpedia right now just to see who's on the
Well,
Devils.
Steve Engel wants us to know. You guys do know that Gritzik and whatever yeah, are going to be in the NHL this coming season. I mean, look,
Haminahu's probably not.
But in terms of defense, the youth depth, I mean, it's there. I don't know why everybody wants to trade Dougie Hamilton. I'm opposed to it. I'm opposed to it. I like the continuity, keeping him there. I don't think the lineup looks bad. I think really it boils down to, and it's kind of out of our control, will there be a healthy Luke Hughes and will there be a healthy Jack Hughes?
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. If you have a healthy Luke and Jack Hughes and no unexpected major injury, like to Nico, to Jesper Bratt, to Timo Meier, I think if you have those 5 players, and you don't lose both goalies, if you have one of Allen and Markstrom healthy for the entire year, I think there's a playoff team easy. Easy playoff team.
I'll tell you, they went into the playoffs. I mean, Luke Hughes played one game, barely a game.
Sure.
In the playoffs. I mean, you went without both Hughes brothers against Carolina. It's
you were missing Dylan after the first game.
Yeah.
You were missing.
I mean, you had to throw Nemec out there.
Injury. You're missing Siegenthaler for most of the series.
Yeah. Didn't they throw Casey out there? But they limited. I think they limited his time.
Did like 8 minutes or something, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing, Sam. And that's good. That's good experience for him. If you're not going to get a lot out of last year, give the young guys experience. And I think that playoff series is going to be immense for Nemec. It might be the reason why his career is successful, is that one series. Like, I'm not trying to throw conjecture at you, but it could be that important. I'll say this. The forwards aren't good enough. I'll just be honest. But there's a path here for them to be not as bad as they look on paper right now. First and foremost, Palat can't be in the top 6. It just can't happen. Find a different way to do it. You just have to cut your losses there. Put him on the 3rd line or the 4th line. He has to be in the bottom 6. So what I'm looking at, you could do something fun where you have, maybe you do Jack Hughes with the Russians and have Gritzik and Dadonov as his wingers and kind of see if you could do something really fun there. I don't think it would be very good defensively, which would be kind of an issue. But I think it would be a matchup nightmare at all times, and I think it would just be run and gun, and I think it would be fast as heck, and you're going to really run guys off the ice. I think you can do I've said this last year. Cotter has the skill set to play with Jack Hughes. He just doesn't have the knowledge. He's just not a good hockey IQ guy. Jack Hughes sneaky, one of the best hockey IQs in the game. But if you want to put a guy with him, he has to know what he's supposed to do. If Cotter spent his entire summer watching tape, he's the guy that you want on the line. He's going to hit guys. He's going to get guys' faces. He's going to get dirty goals. He's going to be, you just got to get him in the right place at the right time. I think Cotter's pretty fast, so he can stick it. So if you do Cotter and Bratt with Hughes, I think there's something there. If you did, there's one other guy I was looking at that I thought there's an outside chance that this could work if everything just kind of works out. I don't want to put Meier with him. I don't think Meier works with Hughes. We've tried it a couple times. It's not the right combination. Oh, you could try if you get a much better Mercer. There's something there with Mercer. And something just didn't click. And I'm telling you, people, the Sheldon Keefe system is hard. And if you start off on the wrong foot, which he did because he missed part of training camp for his contract negotiations, you're playing catch up the whole season. And I think that's what he did. I think Dawson Mercer played catch up the whole season, and it ruined his season. I think he's going to go one of two ways. He's either going to stay here and just kind of be a less confident version of himself, or he's going to learn from those mistakes. He's going to come into training camp ready to learn, and he's going to rebuild the confidence of Sheldon Keefe. And then you'll have a really quality top line with Mercer, Hughes, and Bratt. I think your second line's kind of wonky. I guess you know a lot of people are putting Nason there again. So Nico, Nason, and Meyer. There's something there. Nason's so slow, but it's something. And then you're looking at something like say if you have Mercer on the top line, then you'll have something like Cotter. What I would do then, See, that's the other thing is you really need a third line center because I'm looking at it. I'm like, I'm going in there.
You don't think Cody Glass can get it done?
I don't think he's the third liner, but I think you might. So, you know the guy we're not talking about, Sam? Thomas Bordelot. Interesting guy that they traded for, Thomas Bordelot. Once a really high-quality prospect. I'm trying to see, what... he played 27 games for the Sharks in 23-24. Only one game last year, but he had 6 goals in 23-24. There could be something there. I don't know why he doesn't have a contract yet. I feel like he's just like an $850,000 player, call it a day. But here's what I'm thinking. I think you're going to do Cotter, Glass, Brown on the third line. And then you do... Actually, this is what will be the third line. The third line will end up being Dadonov, Gritsik, and either Lamico or Bordelot. And then your fourth line will be Glass, Brown, and Cotter. And you play the fourth line like you used to play the McLeod line, where they get all the matchups. Their number one goal is to shut people down and create chances going the other way by shutting them down. I think that one would really work with the Sheldon Keefe mantra and what he demands from his players. Again, I'm not in love with it. I'm trying to make something.
I'm telling you right now, and I hate to harp on this and go back to that draft. Man, would it be nice if Logan Cooley was that third line center?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, for sure. Or Shane Wright. We've had this conversation 100 times. But again, either would be so much better. Either would be worlds better.
Because Nemeth, what's propping him up was that playoff series he had. Everyone's banking hey, that was his breakthrough. Maybe he'll mature and realize, hey, I should pay attention to the coach and go to practice on time. That kind of thing. I hope it works out with Nemeth, but we knew that little technical difficulties here. We knew that Jack Hughes was injury prone for that draft. And, I would have, I don't know. I just think, I think the Devils, that would have solved a lot of the Devils' problems to have, down the middle for the foreseeable future.
I don't care where you're picking, Sam. Take the best player available.
He was the best
player. And I think Cooley and Wright were both better than Nemeth at the time.
I thought Cooley was the best one in the draft.
And you're probably right. When you look at the totality of everything, Cooley's probably the best player in the draft.
Because I'm loving the Utah Mammoths right now. Their team,
Yeah.
their team they're putting together. I mean, it might be
They're
my
still a little
second favorite team. Oh yeah,
Still a little off. I don't think they're a playoff team just yet, but they're putting some nice things together. Yeah, here's where I'm at with it. I do regret that pick. I think that pick was. I actually just wrote yesterday. I wrote an article about the 5 worst draft decisions Fitzgerald made. There's the obvious ones. Stillman, Holtz is on there. The one that will probably shock people is, so I didn't put Nemitz on there, but I did put Silyev on there because I think Nemitz has a moment to figure it out. Silyev, I think, could be really good, but if you took Cooley, we'll just go with yours. We'll say Cooley. If you took Cooley in 2022, and you took Zeev Boyum, I think that's how you say his name. You took Zeev Boyum last year. You now have both worlds. You have that second line superstar defenseman that you thought you were getting in Nemitz. And you now have a guy who can either be paired on the first line with Jack Hughes, because I think he has the skill set to do it, or your third line center to have a dominant 3 lines just to crush the other teams. You know, I think there's a lot here. There's a lot here. This needs to be. Do you know what this needs to be, Sam?
what's that?
It needs to be a Sheldon Keefe masterclass. If this is the lineup, because there's something here. Something is here. You have the pieces to do something really good. Like for example, Sam, if this was the 2016-17 Penguins, this is a team that could go to the Stanley Cup. Because they knew what to do with their superstars. They knew how to build around those superstars with the pieces that they had in place. If Sheldon Keefe does his best coaching job that he's done, this team will be a contender. Could win the Metropolitan Division. Could, even compete for the President's Trophy.
Those are pretty lofty expectations, especially when there's people around the league that think the Devils aren't making the playoffs.
Sure. Yeah, sure. Yeah. I again, that could happen, Sam. They could miss the playoffs with this lineup, because here's the problem: is it's kind of a house of cards. You're missing forward depth, and every time you've gone into the season where there's a position where there's a question mark, it's burned the Devils. They went in 2013-14. They went in without goalie depth. It burned them because Vitek Vanacek forgot how to play hockey and they had injuries up the wazoo. They went in last year with no center depth, and Jack Hughes got hurt. And then you had Dawson Mercer playing second line because you had no other choice. And then Dawson Mercer comes out at the end of the season and says, "I don't like to play center." You're like, okay.
Well, Michael,
you know what I mean? So it's like,
sorry, Michael Shane says, we have too many finesse players. We need more size and grit. Florida didn't win 2 cups.
that's just not true. It's not true.
Finesse.
It's not true. It's not true. It's just not true.
How's that not true?
One of our players broke the franchise record for hits this year. Jesper Bratt was the only player in the NHL that had 80 points and 80 hits.
Yeah,
It's
but
just not true.
his hits weren't that like hits. Like, if you compare, that's the analytics part that.
That's not an analytic. That's
if you compare Kachuk's hits,
hits isn't an analytic. It's a statistic. It is a statistic. It's not analytics. You're using that to.
It's kind of like it's kind of like boxing. Okay, they score these points, like these little jabs. Little jabs counts as points, right? But then there's the knockout punch. What the Devils need is that knockout punch.
They had Brendan Dillon.
Well, where was he during the playoffs?
He broke his neck or something. He didn't. That didn't actually happen. He did get hurt pretty bad, but he didn't break his neck. But he got hurt.
You need more. You need more depth of that.
Don't.
Yes, you do.
You need more speed. You lost your speed.
Well, they get burnt out, the Devils, with this speed. They perform well first 2/3 of the year, then they drop off. By the time the playoffs happened, look how gassed they were against the Carolina Hurricanes.
They were gassed because they had like 7, 8, or 9 injuries.
Those are
excuses. Because they're putting out an AHL lineup. Hey, it's a valid one.
Yeah, but AHLers don't get gassed. They shouldn't get gassed. They're young players.
It's just incorrect. It's just that's not what they need. I will hear you that you could take the players they have and have them play more of a Florida style, but I don't think that's how they win. I think they win like Vegas. I think they win like Vegas did.
What, go over the cap?
Sure. But everybody, like
LTIR?
Hasn't every Stanley Cup winner of the past like 6 years gone over the cap?
Pretty much.
Yeah, I think Colorado did. I know Tampa did. I covered that team. That was the thing. And I think the last 2 Florida teams went over the cap. The grit thing is overplayed. It was a thing last year. And then Fitzgerald got all grit players. Paul Cotter's a grit player. Stephen Nason's a gritty player.
Yeah, and he got him in the playoffs compared to the team before that had no grit.
Well, that was the goalie got them in the playoffs. The difference between Markstrom and Allen and Vanacek and Schmid is what got them into the playoffs.
Even Vanacek can win a Stanley Cup with grit.
Come on. You could have had that position and won the same amount of games with the Florida Panthers as Vitek Vanacek.
Well, I'm a gritty guy, so you know that.
Yeah, I'm so against this argument just because it's bad faith. First of all, do you want more Curtis McDermotts? Is that what we need in the lineup? That's
not what I said.
That's a gritty player. So you want McDermott in the lineup? No, I want good players in the lineup. That's what I want. I do, like Sam. I want
a
guys
Brad Marchand.
Sure, yeah, but Brad Marchand's a great offensive player that happens to hit people. So that's Timo Meier.
Just happens to. Oh, jeez.
But I would love another Timo Meier, a guy who's incredible offensively, who plays that style, who does get.
He's getting better at it, but he's not at that elite.
Right,
level.
He's doing one or the other. He needs to be better at.
He's not
mixing.
a game changer. That's what the Devils need.
I don't agree. I think he's the reason. He's one. There's like 4 reasons why the Devils beat the Rangers, and I think Meier was one of them. He got so far under Shesterkin's skin, and again, I'm not saying that the Devils that grit is unimportant. I'm just saying they already have it in the players that you have. I think a lot of people are confused because they don't have big players, but Marchand's not big. You know what I mean? So, I think you have a lot of the hitting on defense. You know, Pesci's hits, Dylan hits if he's healthy.
Well, actually, Pesci hit in the beginning of the season, and then, boom, he disappeared. And then he reappeared again.
Yeah, Pesci had a weird season. Because if you remember, he was the number 1 proponent of can't get the puck out of our defensive zone. If you remember, that being that big problem, and it led to so many goals against. He was a big proponent of that. He had a lot of trouble clearing the zone. I think Luke Hughes in year 2 of Sheldon Keefe is going to be huge as long as they get this contract situation taken care of with quickness. He took so well to the defensive side of this, and he figured out the offense in the last months of the season. I think he's going to explode. I think he's going to be a 60-point guy with great defense, or game-changing defense. He's going to get a ton of turnovers, a ton of takeaways. He's going to get in front of the puck. He's going to be in position. He's going to stop 2-on-1s. He's going to do everything he's supposed to do, or that you can expect. He's not going to be great in his own zone. That's just not his game, but I think he's going to do a lot to stop big chances with the speed. I think this team. I mean, it's truly missing 2 pieces. It's just those 2 pieces are expensive. A third line center is hard to come by. There's just not a lot of good centers in the league. I wouldn't be, if you can trade Palat, wouldn't be surprised if they really went hard after Roslovic, who's a free agent right now, is reportedly looking for 2 years, $6 million total. Roslovic would definitely solve one of those problems for relatively cheap and no assets given away. You just need the cap space. And the other one is like you need a game-changing forward for sure. You just have to you have to lose one to get it. So I'm thinking like the bottom tier of what I want is like Jared McCann. The top tier of what I want is like Jordan Kyrou. I don't know how available Kyrou is, which is why. But like if he's available, like I would probably trade Nemitz for him. Like that's the thing. If you're gonna trade Nemitz, it has to be like super duper duper star caliber. So I always like there's so many what ifs of the 2022 draft. Do you remember it was almost a fact that pick was getting traded. Liv was going to trade that pick. They need to compete. They're going to trade the pick. They trade the pick in 2022. They're going to get Alex DeBrincat or I forget who else is available that else. I remember DeBrincat was one of the most prominent rumors before he got traded to Detroit. And they never traded it. They took Nemitz. I'm not pessimistic to the point that I don't think that I think they're going to miss the playoffs. I don't think they're going to miss the playoffs. The Metro is bad, which you said, and I think they're good enough to make the playoffs for sure. I look at that October schedule. That October schedule is brutal. They're worse than 90% of the teams they play in October.
Hopefully, you catch some teams napping.
Right, that's what you have to hope for. You have to hope for like Florida's not at their best, or Tampa's kind of just like figure themselves out, or like those are the or like Colorado's not Colorado. Like that's what you need to hope for. I think this is going to be a really good season if they come out of October 500.
Well, yeah, I mean, you see that lack of confidence that you're displaying, because that tells me that this team is not as good as it should be.
No, it's not. It's a playoff team, but 16 teams, half the league's a playoff team.
Yeah. But you're right. If they finish above NHL 500, I consider that a win.
It's just a really hard schedule. It's a really hard start. There's a lot that you need to integrate into this lineup. Luke Hughes is coming off an injury. You're missing Kovacevic. But they have Markstrom and Allen, and they could steal wins, especially early in the season.
When they're fresh.
Yeah, And again, I've made this argument before. I feel like I have to say it every week. Hold 3 goalies. People think I'm crazy. I've been I've had people there are certain people who say this with consternation and judgment. Like, well, have you seen this guy? Oh, it didn't work for that guy. Have you seen? Yeah, but it worked with Scott Wedgwood until they put him on waivers in November. One of the biggest mistakes they've ever made. And Wedgwood turned out to be a really good goalie. He was a backup for a long time, but you could have just had him as the third. He was happy to be the third. Happy to be back in New Jersey. You put him on waivers because you were trying to simply bring Mackenzie Blackwood back instead of sending a forward down.
So who would be that third goaltender?
Dawes. Nico Dawes.
But what if you need to send him down? You don't think anyone's going to claim him?
They will. You don't send him down. You hold 30 goalies. You never send him down. You get 3 extra roster spots on a night-to-night basis.
You want to know
Dawes,
something? Sorry.
No, go ahead. It's going to be like Dawes, Lamico, and probably Cholowski.
Anyway, what I was going to say is, you know who retired recently, right?
Halak?
Yeah, Halak. And I thought to myself, a couple years ago when we were having all of our goaltending problems, why not Halak?
Well, he was on teams. He was on The
No, it wasn't.
Islanders. He was
No, it
on.
wasn't. I thought he was riding the pine, or not riding the pine. He was at home.
Last year he was at home.
What
Let me
about
see
the
the
year
last year.
before?
What year did he go to the Rangers?
I'm looking it up right now. Or you could have traded for him or do something. I mean, it was horrible.
So he was So he's been out for 2 years. Because he was the backup when we beat the Rangers in the playoffs.
Yeah, the year after he was doing nothing.
Yeah. Yeah,
And that was the year the Devils, again, had their goalie issues where you had to. I mean, they called up Shorts guy to be an e-bug. That's how bad it got. I'm just kidding. That never happened.
That would be funny. Yeah, I mean, listen.
Because I was surprised when I read that he was retired, that he hadn't played in 2 years. I'm like, he hasn't played in 2 years?
Yeah. I always think that's weird about hockey. Why do they, Zach Parise knew he was going to retire. Why isn't he retired yet? What do they wait for?
For that call.
Just in case, the Colorado Avalanche or the Dallas Stars call
For that call. I mean, has Halak won the Stanley Cup? I don't think so.
Was he on that Blues team?
No, it was it Allen and
Yeah, Allen and Binghamton.
yeah.
Let's see. It tells you if they won the Stanley Cup.
I don't think he won a sometimes I'd hold out.
Yeah.
He had a PTO with the Carolina Hurricanes in 2023. Released November 20th, 2023. And the Devils were having their...
Capitals,
What's that?
the Capitals won 2018, right?
Yeah. But you never know. It's
Yeah, I mean, listen, you're looking at a guy who, I'm looking at it, and only one time in his whole career did he have an under 900 save percentage.
well,
17.
With the NHL's, again, I don't know the details of the collective bargaining agreement, but there was a statement made about e-bugs and all that. That should be that third goaltender. That third goaltender that, I don't know, just for fun, should not, should not really affect the salary cap because you kind of need an e-bug, I don't know. Maybe we're talking about two different things. But
yeah, I think the e-bug is going to be like an ECHL type goalie.
Yeah.
Like a guy on the books, but I mean, you never know. Again, I just think the Devils should have a third goalie. I've talked about this 100 times. I'll probably write about it again. But I'm ready for plugs, Sam. Are you?
Yeah, let's plug.
Okay. PucksandPitchforks.com. It is best and worst week. So I got the worst draft picks of the Tom Fitzgerald area. Jenny Streeter has one in my inbox. 5 best coaches. 5 or 3. Can't remember. The best coaches of all time in New Jersey Devils history. We got articles on Daniel Sprong. Daniel Sprong went to the KHL. We didn't talk about that much, but John Bailey wrote about that. I got articles on Mercer. I got articles on Dougie Hamilton up. I got one on Sheldon Keefe and why he's not going to be coaching for Team Canada at the Olympics. Yeah, I think there's a lot going on. I'm going to have one coming up on my thoughts on if the Devils should just retain a little bit of salary on Andre Palat, maybe $1 million, just to get him moving. So we'll talk about that. PucksandPitchforks.com.
One person. Did we talk about Daninoff tonight?
Briefly.
Yeah. Want to see what role he would have. Anyway, plugs. I have nothing to plug really. Nothing at all.
Well, I think Dadonov's going to be your third line right wing. I think he's going to be paired with Gritsik to help Gritsik's transition with the language barrier and all that.
Yeah.
I don't know who their center is going to be, but I think that they're going to be the wingers.
But I can tell you, we're starting to plan some stuff for this upcoming season.
Ooh, we love a plan.
Yeah.
We love when a plan comes together as well.
I heard we're going to be at a wedding, too.
Maybe.
I'll talk to you
still got to figure
afterwards.
my stuff. I still got to figure out my stuff.
Yeah, I gotta figure out stuff as well. Alrighty. So, want to thank all those tuning in, dropping the podcast at midnight. Go to pucksandpitchforks.com. We'll see you next week, Wednesday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern. Until next time, let's go Devils.